Okay, so the video that you are about to watch is our first Herbal Remedies class. It is called Back to Basics, where I teach the basic herbal remedies information that you need to know when you start learning about herbal remedies and how to use them. We go over the different plants that are actually in our location here in Central Michigan, and then I demonstrate a couple of recipes. Just a note, the video did cut off at the last part of the evening, so I will go over that recipe at the end of this video. So sit back with a pen and paper, enjoy the topic and discussion today, and if you like the video, make sure to give it a thumbs up and share it with others who might be interested in learning some of this information. Thank you for watching. All right, well, welcome to our Herbal Remedies class. This one's back to basics. I was requested to go back to the beginning by a family that's not here right now, just so they could catch up. So we're kind of starting over, so you guys can catch up to where we were. You guys all signed in, right? Okay, and you got your folders. And if you guys have been here before, you have most of these, but I updated them.
You in.
Okay, so they are updated. So, and if you plan on returning, make sure you come back with your folder and we'll just add the new recipes or whatnot to your folder for the next class. All right, let's go ahead with a word of prayer, because this isn't by me, but the Holy Spirit has led me down this path and sharing this information with you. Heavenly Father, thank you so much for being here with us tonight. Thank you so much for sharing these natural remedies that we can use to help each other feel better, to help each other heal over some minor injuries and such like that, where we don't have to run to a pharmaceutical or make an unnecessary doctor's appointment, or something you've given us the ability to take care of on our own with your guidance. So again, thank you so much for bringing this knowledge to our attention, and help us be able to use it to bless others, dear Lord, because that's what it's all about. It's about being a minister to others around us. In your honorable name I pray, amen. All right. So again, I have to make a disclaimer, especially since we are taping and the online community has never heard this before. I am not a doctor, nor do I claim to be. All this herbal stuff I have learned through years of doing research, practicing it myself, seeing how it works with other people. But you have to use your brain and know when you need to go to a doctor, and not just go, I can heal this at home. Take my advice and use it with common sense. If you need to see a medical professional, please do so. All right, so what we're going to do for the first part of class tonight is we're going to go over some common plants that are in our area that you can use for medicinal purposes. And last fall, when I was looking around this property, I could just walk out the door and name 6. Just glancing around the property. Name 6 plants out here. And that was just glancing. That wasn't actually foraging around going, it was just glancing. So I want you guys to be able to do that as well, which is why I teach this presentation. All right, so let's see if my PowerPoint will work with us tonight. Woohoo! They're working. All right, so common medicinal plants that are in this area, okay? So, right here. All right, so we have yarrow. You can find this wild. It's usually white. It kind of looks like Queen's Anne lace, but at the same time it doesn't. It grows a little bit lower to the ground, and it's got really nice little feathery leaves on it. It's really pretty. You can also grow this in your garden. This plant, a lot of people probably grow in their flower beds because it's a pretty plant and butterflies love it. So this is one of your immune boosting plants. All right, you guys probably have seen this in fields and prairies.
Clover.
Yep, and this one's specifically red clover. The white clover doesn't have as much of the medicinal properties as the red one does. And you can actually eat the red clover too. It's kind of sweet, it's interesting.
Ooh.
This one is a pain in everybody's butt.
Yeah.
Burdock, yes. You want to try to make sure you do not move the birds around, like if they get caught on your clothes, try not to move them around to other areas because it is an invasive weed, but it does have medicinal properties. All right, we got our lovely white pine. Does anybody know how to identify a white pine pretty easily?
Ask someone else.
So the white and the red pine are very unique. They're easily identifiable by their needles. So if you were to go up to the needles and the clusters of needles, the white pine is in a cluster of 5, white, and the red is in a cluster of 3 for red. So, and you can use both white pine and red pine needles, but the white pine is better. Anybody seen this one before?
Yes, that stuff works.
Yes, it does. I have never personally seen this before myself, but a friend found it for me. It grows in the forest. This is basically the best way to put it, nature's morphine.
That's why it works.
Yep, it's nature's morphine. It's highly sought after too, so you do have to be careful when you are harvesting it because it is kind of hard to find that you don't take it all. You know, when you go foraging, you need to be responsible when you find stuff like this. Leave it for others. This one you've probably seen like alongside the road. That's generally where it grows. I would not advise harvesting it next to the road to use. The Lord actually blessed me a couple years ago. It's kind of interesting because I'm like, Lord, I want to be able to use it, but I know using the stuff next to the road is poisonous. Well, it started growing in my yard. I'm like, oh, cool, thank you. So I actually have been harvesting the seeds from this, and I do have them available if you are interested. I don't have them with me tonight.
The other pine.
I don't have these with me tonight, but if you're interested.
The
I
other
can
pine
do some.
one's red.
Red and white. You guys might have seen this around. Elderberry. The plant's actually called elder. It's interesting. And we just call it elderberry, but it's actually called an elder bush.
Because
This
those
is-
are the elder berries.
Yes, this
There's
is
a lot
called
of
the American black elderberry, this particular variety, because there are different varieties, and the American black is the one that's the best for using medicinally. All right, we got another weed coming up.
Maybe.
You guys probably have seen this in fields
yeah.
and prairies
Yeah.
and
One of my
kind of
favorite
junky
wildflowers.
areas.
They call
Yeah,
it
this is-
medicine plant.
This is mullein. I don't know why the name didn't come up. There we go. And this plant is actually in its 2nd year. When it throws up the big flower spike, it's in
Yeah.
its 2nd year. You want to try to harvest it, if you have it in an area where you know that it's growing, you want to get a 1st-year plant. It's got more of the properties because it's not throwing it all up into the flower spike. But if that's all you got, work with it.
Are there,
Go ahead.
the leaves, are they fuzzy?
They're fuzzy,
Yes.
very fuzzy. You can use them as toilet paper.
I've known them as medicine plant.
Yep,
If they're in the yard, I think.
yep.
One of my favorite wildflowers.
Yeah, they're kind of
That
neat.
and the Indian paintbrush.
Yes. Welcome, welcome. All right. Have any of you guys seen this walking around the woods?
Nope, haven't seen that.
It's a beautiful fungus. Turkey tail. So it's got wonderful medicinal properties. I forgot to bring the jar with me. Again, a friend of mine who has gone off on a tangent into the fungi world of medicinal herbs has been grabbing this, birch polypore, and some other things, and it's just amazing what they're finding out there.
Is that edible like it is?
It's not edible. You use it as a tincture. Yeah, you can't eat it.
Oh.
This next one you could eat though. So anybody run into this by
Yeah.
accident?
Do you know that?
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
feel it.
The first
Yep.
time I run into it, it stung for a couple hours.
Yep.
anymore when I run into it, it's like days before the sting quits.
Yes. The fine little hairs on that thing, once it gets lodged in your skin, you're not getting it back out. But this plant you can actually eat. You just have to boil it like you would spinach, and it takes the toxins out, so you can actually eat that. I do have seeds for this too, because I actually grow this myself in a pot, because you don't want it spreading. I mean, it's not fun to run into it, but it is a great plant to have.
It's edible.
Yes, nettle is edible. This one, you would know if you got it if you have cats that are hanging around your place. This is one of the most widely spread mints in our area. Almost anybody who has property out, out in the rural area will probably have this growing somewhere.
Rose in the city have like too.
Yeah, I haven't seen it as much, but yeah, this is there. So,
That's given to my kids when they're little for college.
yes ma'am, exactly, it's good stuff.
Boil it up as a tea.
Yep. Good stuff. It makes cats crazy, but it calms us down.
Yeah.
St. John's wort. I have a friend of mine who actually has this growing wild on their property. I was like, man, I actually had to plant some. It's a beautiful plant. Your bees and stuff love it. But this is used for depression and other mood disorders.
Does that mean we have happy bees?
Right? You do have to be careful with this one though, because it's temperamental on, the safety of it. So it's one of those you can use, but you have to do it very carefully.
And you should inform your doctor for taking it, I think.
Yes, this one you definitely want to
Interacts
inform your
with meds.
doctor, because it does have a lot of counter actions with other medications as well. Kevin, can you go turn off the stove? All right, hawthorn. I hate this plant, but at the same time I love it. I mean, have you guys seen the thorns on that thing?
Have I felt
They
it?
hurt. If you accidentally step on a branch, you're gonna know it. But the berries and the flowers are both usable, as well as the leaves. This is one that a lot of heart patients use, because it's good for helping your palpitations.
Same thing as crab apple.
No, completely different. But this helps bring your palpitations more normal, and helps alleviate some of your cardiac issues. But again, this is another plant that if you're using it, you need to let your doctors know because of what it does. And we'll go over some of the cautions as we get through this presentation. All right, who doesn't like a blackberry?
Oh, yeah.
No,
Those pickers I don't like.
I don't like the pickers either. But your blackberry and your raspberry both have medicinal properties. And it's kind of
Lots
interesting.
seeds.
Lots of seeds. That's the one thing I don't like about them, that's
Yeah.
for sure. But yeah, so your fruits also have medicinal purposes. I have not seen this plant before, but I've heard of others who have. Shepherd's purse. It's really pretty.
Heart-shaped leaves.
Yep, really tiny heart-shaped leaves. That's
That
pretty.
grows a lot of times in like a hayfield
Hayfields?
or like a wet area in a regular field too
Got it.
sometimes.
Yeah, so I might have to walk in our pasture a little bit, because our pasture is a constant swampland. I didn't think so. We have a lot of sawgrass. Okay. All right. White birch. Now, this is not popple, even though they're in the same family. This is paper birch. And and what grows on it is called chaga. It kind of looks like it got burnt or zapped with lightning or something like that. But chaga is a highly sought after medicinal fungus kind of thing. It's actually like a parasite that grows on a birch when the birch is injured. So if you see it, and sometimes it'll be just a small piece. This takes a long time to grow. Like this piece right here probably took 20 to 25 years to grow. So if you see chaga, one of the things you want to do is just take a little bit and leave the rest for other people. Again, being responsible, because yeah, it takes a long time for that to grow. This I've seen in other people's yards, and boy does it stink. Purple dead nettle. It kind of looks like mint, but you can see that it's different because it's got a purple top. And yeah, to me it smells, especially if you mow it, it smells like rotting flesh. It's nasty. But it has medicinal properties, so it's like, don't get rid of it. Grab some, put it to use. Goldenrod. This guy gets a lot of blame for allergies because ragweed, which is a completely different plant, people think that's what goldenrod is. And so they blame goldenrod for their allergies when it's actually ragweed. I actually have a tincture that I brought today that is made from goldenrod. So it's kind of cool. All right, we have 2 different types of plantain. There's actually 3, but 2 of them are similar. We have the broadleaf, and then we have the narrow leaf, which is also called ribwort, and there's some other names to it.
Buckhorn.
Buckhorn, yeah. But you've probably seen them most often because of their seed spikes. Especially if your grass is dying because that's drought, you still have those guys poking up all over. Because they don't die.
We didn't have those in our yard.
Yeah.
I know, half of our yard has plantain in it now. But, and the seeds are also edible and have some cancer healing properties. I haven't fully researched it to be able to explain that to you, but I do have some seeds that I saved out of those. So, but plantain is used in a lot of different skincare products, and I also have it in one of my teas because it's just a wonderful thing. And all the information will be on your green sheet, green for plants. The basics of what they're used for. Self-heal. I actually just found in my seed stash I have seeds for this. Can you imagine what it might be used for?
Healing anything.
Yes. The military found out about this. And it's amazing that it has, is it called coagulation that stops the bleeding?
Yes.
Is that what it is? So yeah, it's supposed to, like, if you're out in the woods and you get cut up or something really bad, you can put this on to try to stop that bleeding until you can get to a medical professional. But yeah, this stuff is supposed to be awesome as far as healing.
Like put it on how?
Make a poultice. Like chew it up, put it on. Yep. So, yeah, but it's good stuff. It's been talked about for centuries of just how good this works. So I'm excited because I'm going to be growing it this year. Everybody's favorite weed, dandelion. So one of the things I want to stress about this, especially if you live in a rural area, don't cut these guys down until after other flowers come out. Your bees need these. These are the first flowers that come up, and when the bees start waking up, they need these in order to continue on until the other flowers come up. Dandelions, you can use the greens,
Every part
or,
of it.
what's that?
You use every part of
Yep,
it.
you can basically use every part. The flowers are generally used to make wine, but the leaves and the roots are what are used for medicinal purposes. I like this plant. I used to draw it all the time. The willow. And specifically, white willow is known as the medicinal property willow, but basically any type of willow, including your pussy willows, those little guys that grow in the marshes, do have some medicinal properties. This is nature's aspirin. This is where people, the labs got their, I can't think of the word. They stole the aspirin from it, basically. They created it from
You
it.
can also use the rooting hormone for growing.
Yes. If you soak some of the fresh branches in some water for about a day, you'll have it a nice, potent rooting hormone instead of using some of the chemicals. So. All right, so that's the stuff you can find in the wild. Now we're going to look at what we're actually growing in our gardens. So we got chamomile. And of course, a lot of people know what chamomile is for. It's for relaxation and stress, sleeping, all that kind of stuff. Tuberose calendula. That's a good one. It's a relative of the marigold, but it's not the same. It's a different plant, but it's a very good plant for healing skin problems. And of course, we got lavender. I have like 7 bushes now, and I'm trying to get more growing. Sage. Did you guys know that sage has medicinal properties? Yeah. besides being a nice sensory plant too, just rubbing it sometimes helps you go, it helps you ground, as people would call it. All right, this one, I believe is oregano. Yep, that one's oregano.
Thought it was mint.
No, oregano. It and marjoram look a lot alike, so I have to remember which one's which. All right, then we got chives. These ones here, they're not garlic, they're the onion, other ones, like onion chives or something like that. But they have medicinal properties. These are actually from my garden. Dill. I grow these a lot of times just because the swallow-tailed moth or butterfly, I can never remember which one it is. Their young grows on your dill. So if you want to help with the swallow-tailed population, grow some dill. All right. This one, there's only one reason I grow this thing. Medicinal properties. It's very, very good for healing, for heart situations. It's a wonderful plant. But again, I don't like the heat. I just grow it for medicinal properties. Anybody like pesto?
Love it. Oh.
Yeah. Well, sweet basil, if you don't have the oil in it, it does have wonderful medicinal properties. And thyme. And then this one I found out about just a couple years ago. I use this in my sore muscle salve along with quite a few of the other things, but rosemary has quite a few different medicinal properties to it.
I love the smell of that.
Yup,
I
yup.
pet every bush I can.
There you go. Your roses have medicinal properties, and it doesn't matter what rose really. The flowers are what you're going to use. But if you have roses that grow rose hips, you got a 2-for-1 right there. So not every rose grows rose hips. It's only certain types.
I was gonna say, I've never seen a rose hip on all
Yeah.
of my roses.
Usually those are on your wild roses,
Oh.
but there are a couple of domesticated ones that grow them.
Have them,
What's that?
knockout.
The knockout roses have them. So, but yeah, I mean, if you get them, you get them. If not, you know, you can buy rose hips online. All right. So we're going to go over a couple plants that maybe you don't grow because you've never heard of them, but you can grow them. These are stuff that I have learned about and put into practice. This is bee balm. So it's an interesting plant. And one of the things with bee balm that I found is if you want to use bee balm, you need to grow it. It's very hard to find it online to get dried herbs or anything. It's just not something that's found. So if you want it, grow it. So, and if you want to keep it contained in a pot, you need a large pot to do so. But it's a wonderful plant. Hops. It's more than for just beer. So one of the reasons that beer makes you sleepy is one of the properties of hops. It's a natural sedative. So I use this with the chamomile. If I'm having insomnia, it'll knock me right out. And usually it's not the kind of knocked out where you're like, get up the next day and you're like, ugh, you know. It gives you a restful sleep, or usually you wake up the next day and you're like, I'm ready to go. So I love this thing. It grows really, really intensively. You gotta have room for this bad boy. We have, what is that, 16-foot caliper? Yeah. We build an arch for it. This is a 3-year-old plant now. And let's see, I have a 16-foot trellis.
20 foot.
20-foot trellis, okay. And it's easily grown over half that, and it just fills it out. It's like a huge forest. So this is definitely one that you don't want to grow unless you have room. But if you can grow it, it's a wonderful plant to have on hand. Comfrey. This is an interesting plant too. This one is great for healing. One of the nicknames it has is called bone knit. It does exactly what it says. It's used for healing broken bones. So if you are going to use comfrey, you need to make sure that if you have a broken bone that it's set. Otherwise, you're going to need to have it rebroke. and we definitely don't want to do that. Comfrey can be ingested, but you have to do it in small quantities because it's a very potent herb. So, and we'll go through that later on. You want to get a plant that doesn't self-seed because it will spread. You want to get the kind that kind of stays kind of contained. And I do have shoots of this that I do sell in the spring. All right, marshmallow. This is where they originally made marshmallows from. The root is very spongy and gelatinous, so it's interesting. That's very, very interesting. And I just found out last year, I mean, I'm constantly learning that you can also use the leaves and the flowers as well. For years, I've just used the root. But it's a wonderful plant. It just has a habit of self-seeding. Valerian, again, it's a well-known health aid for sleeping, for stress, things like that. Valerian you do have to be careful with because it can be somewhat habit-forming. It's a very strong herb, so there are notations on being cautious when using it. Some people actually have a reaction to it because of how strong it is, so use valerian with caution. All right, so borage. I like this plant too. You can eat the leaves. They're interesting because they're kind of prickly, but they're like cucumber. If you like the taste of cucumber, borage leaves are like that. You can eat the flowers too if you want to decorate your salads or something with the flowers. You can do that. It's a wonderful plant. It has a lot of medicinal properties to it. Hyssop. Hyssop is talked about in the Bible as a purifying herb. And this is one of the things that it does. And blue hyssop is the hyssop that you want for medicinal properties. There are quite a few different varieties.
All day.
All right. And this is the newest addition to the presentation because I'm going to be growing it this year. This is arnica. And arnica, this particular variety is called Arnica montana. So where do you think it grows?
Montana,
Yep, and specifically in the,
mountains.
there you go, in the mountains. So, but you can grow it here if you start it from seed and it does well in pots and things like that. This is an absolute wonder for pain killing, for muscle problems, oh boy, just healing. It's like one of those big bang bucks for medicinal herbs. So I highly recommend if you can grow arnica, have that as one of the plants that you grow.
And she made a salve of
Yep.
arnica.
Yep, that's one of the salve that I make, and we'll go over that salve. I don't know if it's next month's presentation or the next one. But one of the things that you can do is when you go out in the wild, I have this on my phone. I've used it for years. It's called Picture This, and it is free to use with limited use. You can do one plant identification a day, or you can spend, I think it's like $25 a year. But if you have it on your phone, you can go out, and if you're not sure about a plant or you see something that's kind of cool, you can take a picture and it will tell you exactly what that plant is and give you some information about it. So if you're foraging, if you're looking for something, I highly recommend having this available on your phone. It's a lifesaver because sometimes a plant that you think is something is not the plant you think it is. Somebody was looking at some fungus and they thought it was turkey tail, but it actually was the poisonous cousin. So they had this on their phone. They're able to go, oh, we're gonna walk away. So it's a wonderful app to use. So that is the presentation part of tonight. So all these plants are listed on your green handout, and I actually put them in alphabetical order this time and try to make sure I fixed typos. But if there's a typo, let me know so I can correct it for the next. Yes, ma'am. Huh?
These are.
Oh, thank you. Like I said, it's a brand new addition to our
I like it, green and pretty.
Yeah, yeah, so, all right. So we're gonna take a 10-minute break. If you need to go potty, stretch your legs, and then we're going to all sit at the table, and we're gonna actually start making stuff tonight. And we're gonna get our hands dirty. Okay, so tonight we're gonna make a couple different things.
What this means.
So, in front of you, you do have a couple of samples of what we're gonna be making tonight, so you can kind of taste them and see what you're gonna be ingesting later on. So, but at first we're gonna go over some of these handouts. So, already told you we have the plants that I went over today, and then basic uses, and this is not all inclusive. This is just what they're most known for as far as use. And then we have the orange sheet. There's different ways that you can use herbs. And this is going to depend on the herb itself, because some herbs you can only use certain ways. And I'll go over that a little bit here. So some herbs you can only use fresh, or fresh is best a way to use them. St. John's wort is one of those. You have to use it fresh when you prepare it. It's interesting. Dehydrated, I use that a lot. I have a lot of dehydrated stuff because it stores the best. And then you can go from there. You can either use fresh or dehydrated to make a tincture, because a tincture is made with alcohol. And you have, this one is 80 proof, which is used for your delicate plants. And then I have, this one's 100 proof, I think. Yeah, this one's 100 proof, which is used for roots and mushrooms, things like that. You need something harder in order to break that down. So that's your tincture. Decoctions, that's a mouthful. It's a tincture that's been prepared using heat to boil. And I do not use this method personally. I generally try not to use heat because heat actually can break down the medicinal parts of the plant, and I don't like doing that if possible. Now for the elderberry syrup, we did use heat for it, but that's a rare time that I use heat. Then we have tea. Everybody knows how to make a tea, right? Okay, but the kind of way that you want to use the herbs for medicinal purposes is not as a tea, but as a water infusion, or that one's also called a decoction sometimes, because you're going to have your water really, really hot, not boiling, hot. Like right when you start seeing the bubbles of a simmer, you want to turn it off, and then you let it sit for at least 10 to 15 minutes. So you let it really steep, and that becomes a really, really strong infusion, and that pulls out the medicinal properties of the herb. Steam inhalation. Who hasn't done a Vicks with the towel over the head? Same principle. Some herbs are used for that. Oil infusion. I don't think I brought any here tonight. Nope, I did not. Oil infusion is kind of like a tincture, but you soak your herbs in oil, and I use olive oil. It's the best one to use because not a lot of people have a reaction to olive oil, and it's actually cheaper. Let's see, capsules. I have a capsule machine. Used to be able to get these online, but for some reason it's hard to find anymore. But I have a capsule machine. Mine makes 100 capsules. I've shown how to use this before. I'll probably do that next time with my capsules. These are veggie capsules. And then I use it to make charcoal. And then I also have turmeric, so which are very hard to take just drinking in water. Some people can do it, but I cannot stand drinking like dirt water. Ugh. So, but I can swallow 5 of these. So capsules. Poultice. That's when you use fresh or dried herbs and you mix them with a little bit of water or oil and put it on your body. And sometimes you wrap it, depending on how long you need it to sit there, and it does its thing. Double extraction. That's the use of both alcohol and water. It's a double method, and those are used for like your fungus, your hard mushrooms like turkey tail and reishi. And it's a pain in the butt, but the product you get is well worth it. So I usually do the alcohol first because that takes the longest, and then I'll do the water once the alcohol portion has been done. Because you let this sit for at least 6 to 8 weeks. And so might as well get the long part out of the way first and then do the other. And then of course salves. Salves is where you take your oil infusion and you mix it with beeswax, which I have here. And I make a lot of different salves. So that's the basic way that you can use your herbs. And as we go through these different classes, I will teach you different remedies I've used over the years. And so you can kind of go from there. And you can also, there's a lot of YouTube people and a lot of Google people that you can get good information from and ideas on what to do. But there are some cautions. Yellow is for caution. Cautions when using your herbs. So I had somebody message me the other day in a panic about a certain herb, wanted to know if I used a certain herb, and this certain herb can be very bad for people, can be a blood thinner, can cause asthma, can do this, can do that, you know, and I was like, what are you talking about? I've never heard it before. And this certain herb was chamomile. I've never ever heard of chamomile having dangerous properties. So I went and I dug and I dug and I dug, because that's what you need to do. You need to research. And I found 1 or 2 places on the interwebs that talked about chamomile actually being dangerous in high doses. And when combined with other medication in high doses. So that's one of the things you have to not like fall off the deep end on every little wisp of, oh, that's dangerous. You need to go research, find out for yourself if, is it dangerous or is it dangerous if used improperly? And so that's what I did. And yes, chamomile is perfectly safe to use if you use it the way that we teach, as a tea, as an infusion. Don't drink it like 20 times a day and use it with a blood thinner. You might have an issue. Okay, but just drinking a tea once a day or twice a day, if you have really bad anxiety, you're fine. So, but use good judgment, do your research. If you're worried about a contraindication, just don't use it. That's simple. So, and one of the things you definitely want to do is build yourself a good herbal library. One of the things we have found, and I hate to be alarmist, is they're trying really hard to make herbal remedies and stuff almost illegal. And they're trying to hide books. They're trying to get YouTube to pull stuff off there if they suggest that they have a medicinal property. So start getting some simple herbal remedy books while you still can. That way you have it.
I have more than you do.
Yeah, my library is still small. I actually have one at Tractor Supply. I saw, I'm like, I gotta get you. So, but build up a good herbal library and put it to your brain. Because they might be able to take these, but they can't take what's in your head. So like the Bible, start memorizing some of the most basic ways to use these herbs, especially for wounds and infections and things that you know you're gonna need them for. All right, use a plant identification app like I talked about, because we do have copycat plants. It can save your life actually. And for the cost, it's very, very minimal. Let's see. Build up your own apothecary, and that just simply means medicine cabinet. My husband will tell you I have a pantry that's, I don't know, like the size of that area back there. It's not very big, but most of it is my herbs. I don't have a lot of canned goods in there because it's all herbs and tinctures and yeah, it's full. But I have something for almost anything I would need. So, I have stuff I haven't used in years because I haven't needed to, but if I need to, it's there. Because these will store for a long, long time. Which brings us to our next point. Use good preserving techniques. Because if you don't preserve your herbs, they're just going to rot and, you're going to be out. And one of the last things is don't be afraid to use alcohol unless you have problems with alcohol. Our belief here at this particular church is we should not be taking alcohol because it's not good for your brain, it's not good for your body. But with something like this, for a medicinal purpose, we allow it because of how it is used. And alcohol is a solvent. There is vegetable glycerin, which is also a solvent. And a lot of people who don't do alcohol at all do use the vegetable glycerin. However, vegetable glycerin is a very weak solvent, and you can't use it on your harder stuff like your barks. You can't use it on your fungus. It's just very, very weak, and it has a very short shelf life. So where this, if you use alcohol, you can keep stuff, as long as you keep it clean and sealed, for like up to 2 years. So it lasts a long time. But again, if you can't handle your alcohol, stay away from it. Alright, so that's that one. Alright, so I have my contact information on here. If you have any questions or anything, you can always email me. I did put my phone number on here because I'm in the process of changing it. But I do have a YouTube channel where I talk about lots of different stuff like gardening, herbal remedies. Right now I'm doing a weight loss thing. But yeah, so you can find me online if you need to. And again, I do sell seeds, plant starts.
Herb soap.
I used to sell soap, yep. I do herbal ointments, and I also do medicinal tea blends as well. So, all right. So I think that's everything as far as handout. So now we'll get our hands dirty, as it were. So the first thing we're going to make is called Russian penicillin. And I had to look into it more to see why it's called that. And
I just read about it.
yeah, it's kind of
yesterday.
interesting. So garlic itself is called Russian penicillin because it's so potent that it is really good. I was reading it today that one garlic clove is basically the equivalent of 1% penicillin. Now, I don't know what that means because I haven't looked at what your penicillin ratio is, but it's like, I think that's pretty high. So, we're going to make Russian penicillin today. What's that?
I said I'm allergic to penicillin.
So-
Right, was when I was
so
five,
cool. So,
But I
what
eat
we're going to
garlic.
make,
I do too. Must be a different.
I made a different kind the last time we did this,
Some of it is man-made.
but we're going to make
The pharmaceutical
penicillin like this. And all you're going to do is you're going to put garlic in your fat jar, garlic in there, and then you're going to put honey in it. And what you can also do is you can put, for that size jar, I would only put like 4 pieces, maybe 5 pieces of lemon in it, and you get your vitamin C. And lemon also helps soothe the throat if you have a sore throat or something. So, very simple to do. You're going to take, you can pass this around, but you can go ahead and open up your bags of garlic, and you're going to bust the heads open. You can smack them on the table and bust the heads open. And then you can put like 3 or 4 pieces of garlic. John, can I have some garlic here?
Sure.
I just need 1 head.
I said some, I wasn't sure.
That's okay. So,
Towards the,
alright. You take your garlic and you're going to put it in your little tube. I only gave 1 tube per table, so you're going to have to share.
well, that's not bad.
And then you push down on your tube to flatten it a little bit and roll it back and forth. And then your garlic comes out peeled. Sometimes you can, that might have been too many garlics, but when you have to do something like this, it's a lot faster to do it this way. Oops. There we go.
Anyway, put it in the tube and roll
You
it.
put it into the tube and you roll it.
Ouch.
How many are we supposed to put in each?
You can put like 3. Any more than that and it doesn't work as well.
Just 3?
3 at a time in your tube.
Oh, I had a 2, okay.
Yeah.
So what is this?
That is what your sample.
What that we're gonna take?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh.
This is your sample so you can taste how awful it is.
How medicinal it tastes.
Yes. My husband and I both had to use this recently because we've both been under the weather. So this is kind of messy, but if you like making messes, this is kind of messy.
So we're basically just taking the skin off of it.
Yep, you're
right?
just taking the skin off and then putting the garlic in the jar.
Then we get the peelings off and we roll it in the tube.
You wanna use the roller?
Yep, strong. So you want to fill it with garlic up to the first line there.
Oh, we're doing the little one?
Yep, the little one. You need the big one for your elderberry syrup.
All right.
And I gave you guys labels that you could write and put a label on top of your lid of what it is.
So do I need more than that?
Yeah, fill it up to the line.
Okay.
You want it
It's
full?
gotta be the tall.
Are we
Huh?
doing the smallest?
The tall.
Yeah, rinse it out first. Rinse it out first.
She said the first line. Said the fat one.
This
The short fat one.
Yeah. I was trying to interpret which way that went. The biggest one or the short?
The garlic was on there, so that's why I went there.
Yeah.
Yeah, my husband didn't know which one to put it on, so. I almost forgot I need to wear my apron.
Okay, I just put everything on the table.
Yes, thank you very much for your help. All right.
Do you have any more?
Yeah.
Huh?
The thing to roll it.
The rolly thing. Are we done?
That's all I have.
We're just about done and we'll send it your way.
Sharing or?
Yeah, we're supposed to be sharing. We're not doing very good. We're just taking so long.
This is my first time, so
What's your name?
I'm Erlene.
Erlene. I'm Valerie.
Valerie.
Yes, I hadn't met you yet. Nice to meet you. I had a friend named Erlene back in Tennessee.
Oh, really?
Is it E-A-R-L-E-N?
L-I-N.
Oh, okay, so a little bit different.
Yeah.
What is the difference between raw honey and
It's not processed.
honey and any other honey?
Raw honey that you get from a
Way to go,
beekeeper.
Delay.
Raw honey that you get from a beekeeper has not been heated. The stuff that you buy in the store has been heated.
Unless it says raw.
Yeah, unless it says raw. And you do have to worry about
Honey jar.
the fakes
Oh,
honeys that are actually
okay.
made with corn syrup.
Is this raw?
Yes,
All right, we'll
yes,
just-
I buy it from,
We'll do
yes.
it out and put it in the camera for you.
So how do you get honey that is good?
You have to know a beekeeper, or know somebody who knows a beekeeper.
Or you have your own bees.
Yeah, I was gonna say, Dawn and Dave have bees,
Well, I actually
On
did that
the-
right now, we gotta get some more.
right, but I know
buy
2
what says
beekeepers,
raw honey.
I actually know 3 beekeepers. So,
That's not
I'm
guaranteed
able
that
to
it's
get
real
you
honey.
guys hooked up to get some honey. And, the honey, just to give you guys an idea in case you were not aware of how much it is, it runs about $7 to $8 a pound. That's what honey is sold for. So Dawn's jar is a 2-pound jar. That's about a $15 to $16 jar. The jar that Betty has, that's a 3-pound jar, and it runs $22. So just to give you an idea.
That jar is that?
Yes, but a little bit goes a long ways. So, but it costs beekeepers a lot of money to keep bees and process the honey. So.
some beekeepers will sell it in big 5-gallon buckets as well.
Yeah, yep, you can get it, you know, some beekeepers, depending on how many hives they have, they will sell it in bulk quantities.
So if-
All right, so did you get it all full?
Yep.
Okay, so what you do next is debatable, and in your preference is you don't have this screwed on really tight when you're sitting it on the counter, because you're gonna let this ferment for about 3 days, and it needs to be able to let out the gas, otherwise you're gonna explode your jar. So you put it on your counter out of direct sunlight for about 3 to 4 days, and you'll start seeing bubbles, especially if you used lemon juice, or the lemons, you'll start seeing bubbles form, and you'll hear it start fizzing, kind of like soda. And you can either leave it out, but I don't like to let it ferment longer than that, because then you might get alcoholic. I put it in my fridge, and you can store it there for up to a year.
I'm gonna put this on.
Yep. And one of the things you want to do when it's on the counter is twice a day, screw your lid back down, and just do this, because you want to make sure that your honey coats your garlic and stuff. And then loosen your lid back up and set it back down. Don't do what I did. The other day I had an oopsie. I thought I had a nice seal on my lid, and I had set it upside down like that. I left for the day,
Oh,
and my son texted me, he goes, just so you know, there's no more honey in your garlic. Yeah, it had oozed out and all over the table. So don't leave it upside down. So, but yeah, this will be good. In about a week, you can start using it. But the longer you let it set, the better, especially if you're sensitive to garlic, because the honey really helps it be less acidic and sweeter. But you can go ahead and try your sample, so you can kind of get an idea of what it's going to taste like. All right, so tips for making elderberry syrup. Should you use fresh or dried? Well, if you have fresh available, use fresh, you know, because fresh is best. But, you know, if you have dried, use dried. I try to, in the summer, when my elderberry bushes are growing, I will harvest some and I will make fresh elderberry syrup at that time, because I have a ton of elderberries. So I will make a fresh batch, because then I have lots left over to make. I get like 2 or 3 of these jars full of berries. Yeah, it's a lot of berries. So use fresh if you have it, but dried works wonderfully. Shelf-stable elderberry syrup. A lot of people like shelf-stable because they don't want to have to take up space in their fridge. That's where the alcohol comes in. And again, I don't personally do it because I try to not use alcohol if I don't have to. But you put the addition of alcohol in there. And there is a ratio.
It's on the bottom of the thing, it says 1 cup vodka or brandy optional.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, for this side, that's right. For this particular one, it is 1 cup. I think it's supposed to be like 1/3 of your total volume of liquid.
So
You want to,
add 1 cup.
yeah, if you want to add the alcohol, and it becomes shelf stable. Okay, so can you add other herbs to your elderberry syrup? And definitely you can. And I have cloves in mine, which is not on this actual recipe, and I didn't realize that. But there's a couple different herbs that people put in. One of them is called, I think, like astraga root or something like that. They'll put that in. There's another herb that they'll put in. Anything that helps with immune boosting, you can put that in there if you want to.
You said cloves?
This is the basic.
Cloves, yeah.
For
Yeah, this is a
immune-
basic
for
recipe.
immune System? Does this elderberry syrup for your immune system, is that what it is?
Yes, it is for your immune system. Yeah, when you start getting sick, you definitely want to be down in this stuff. You can, if you have a poor immune system like our son does, you can take a teaspoon of this a day, and it will help kind of boost your immune system a little bit. If you're getting sick, you want to use a tablespoon up to 3 times a day, depending on how sick you are, to start taking that. And sometimes it's hard for people to take because it can be kind of sweet, especially if you're nauseous. That sugar is going to make you ugh. So make sure you have water or something to swig it down.
Up to 3 tablespoons.
3 tablespoons if you're really sick. Yep. So they put in here that some people put vanilla beans in it. Some people put cardamom in it. It helps with the flavor. So yeah, you can do quite a few different variations if you're up to that, but you don't have to. You just kind of make it your own thing. So while that is boiling down, we're going to talk about another recipe. It's not on here, but it's something I wanted to talk about today because it's something easy that you guys can do at home. And that is the infusion. The very, very strong tea. So, let's see. How many of you guys are in pain? Or maybe you're dealing with a cough or a cold. So I will make an infusion. So I'll show you how that's done. I have an electric kettle. I use it all the time. I love this thing. So again, I don't use tap water because tap water's got a lot of junk in it. I use bottled water.
Just bottled, not distilled.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be distilled, just bottled. Or if you have an RO system, you can use it. Yes, did you have a question?
No.
Okay, all right. So I'm gonna get this going. And I'm gonna listen to it because I don't want it at a boil, so I listen and I kind of know what it sounds like right before it boils.
Is that one of those fast hot
Yep.
pots?
Yep. Yeah, it's faster than putting it on the stove or in the microwave. So,
Coffee cup.
oh, I'm gonna make a big batch.
Oh.
So, all right, so we're gonna do willow bark. I've done this one before. Susie had the pleasure of seeing how this worked. This is willow bark that I harvested off my own trees. So I'm gonna use, if I were to crunch this up, probably
You did
about,
it like that.
you peel it.
Well, I don't
I show it in another class.
have you.
So about a tablespoon of willow bark in there.
It's tedious.
Actually, I'm gonna do two tablespoons because we got a quart jar. About 2 tablespoons of willow bark. And almost there, not quite. So again, we're going to put really hot water, but not boiling water in it. And we're going to let it set for about 10-15 minutes. And Kevin, I'll do one for you as well. And you can share. Alright, that's hot enough. Here in my jar. Alright, so pour that in there.
Last time, didn't you use
There we
the
go.
French press?
Yes, but I forgot it at home.
Oh, I have one of those.
So we're just gonna let that steep. I have enough to do this. So this one is going to be the cough and cold herbal tea mix that I do. I make these. This is one of the herbal tea blends I sell. Had to use this for Kevin the other day because he was really, really sick.
What is that?
This is cough and cold herbal tea blend. All right. And then one of the things I like to do for that one is, because it's for cough and cold, there's something else that's good for cough and cold, which is what we are working with, but in a different form. This is elderberry tincture. So Val, you've got it. Susie, you've got it. All right. So what I do is for the tinctures, especially if you're alcohol sensitive, a good way to work with it is to put it in your hot tea. So this is hot, and so I'm going to put about a teaspoon of the tincture into that, stir it up. And since this has to sit for 15 minutes or so, it gives that alcohol time to evaporate. And so you'll have the properties without the alcohol. So this is what I've done for my husband for the last week. So, and he's still alive. All right.
Yeah, but does he have to take those garlic things every day?
He took them for a couple days. He was not happy about it, but he survived. Trying to do this without spilling. There we go. You almost wore it.
It would've been nice.
All right.
Warm.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, so you can see how dark this is. It's really, really dark. And it smells wonderful. The problem is it's too hot to use. So for honey, raw honey, you cannot get it above 160 degrees in order for it to stay raw. So something like this, you have to get it to cool down. Oh, we're close though. This is it sitting at 155. That's why it's important to have a thermometer, especially you can use a digital, like a meat thermometer if you want. You can put it in there. I like my laser thermometer. But this is just sitting at 155. So I technically could put the honey in there, but I'm going to let it cool down a little bit more because I want to make sure the raw honey stays raw. Okay, so like I notated, the video cut off when we were doing the actual preparation of the elderberry syrup. So I'm going to have to kind of give you a rundown of what we did. What I did is once that mixture was cooled, it made approximately 4 cups of liquid concentrate of the elderberry. And then I added 2 cups of honey, raw honey to that, and stirred it up. When it was cool, it was about 140 degrees at the time that I stirred it in there, so it helped the honey dissolve, but it wasn't hot enough to destroy the raw properties of the honey. Then we poured it into the jars and put on the lids and sent them on their way home. Elderberry syrup can be stored in your refrigerator for up to 6 months. The basic recipe, or the basic way to take it, I guess I should say, is for a preventative, you would take 1 teaspoon a day if you have a poor immune system. But if you start feeling like you're coming down with an illness or you are actively sick, you can take up to 3 tablespoons per day until you start feeling better. Again, that is for the elderberry syrup that we made in class today. I hope you enjoy learning different things to do with herbal remedies, and I hope to see you next time for the class. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.